I'd love to dig into this exact point that this is kind of it's for developers and therefore it being open source is a reasonable strategy. Since you're trying to almost de-emphasize the code, like, we're trying to, you're trying to make building internal tools easier, focus on code less, and just, build the tools. Given that you're trying to de-emphasize code, why does it being open source matter?
Right. Yeah, that's a great question. A couple of things here. I think, we're not really trying to de-emphasize code too much when you think about it. Today, we're all used to reusing, different libraries and building blocks. It's not a new concept. Today, you actually use a lot of NPM packages or Java libraries, and that's pretty common. And what Appsmith is really doing is just allowing you to use all of those different building blocks inside a platform that kind of gives you a very simple interface to actually interact with these different building blocks. Now, why it's important for it to be open source for developers is one, developers, unfortunately, in most organizations don't have a lot of purchasing power, and because of that, they can't make a lot of software buying decisions, right? But what they do have a lot of control over is the type of open source packages and libraries that they can actually incorporate into their tech stack, right? And because of that, it was really important for us to create a way for developers to get their hands on a platform that they could actually use for building all of their all internal tooling needs without having to go through the entire buying process that can be quite tricky, especially in large organizations. In a lot of organizations, it's also really important to go through security audits and other complex processes. Whereas by virtue of it being open source, it's just really easy to audit the software. You can skip the entire vendor procurement loop, and you can get in the hands of developers as quickly as possible. And also because Appsmith is touching your core internal data, it actually works on top of your production database and your core production APIs. It's really important for it to be secure, and you probably wouldn't trust a cloud provider, with that core critical information. You'd want to self-host this kind of software behind your own firewalls to ensure that you have the best security. And just by being open source, it makes it a lot easier to self-host, this entire platform. Makes it a lot easier to ensure that it is super secure behind your own firewalls, and you can just bypass those security audits and things like that. So that's kind of why open source.